expertise in X-ray crystallography led to the famous photo 50.
So I totally get it, Ramani. I'm here for it. Let's work it out. Let's talk about how to take notes for both Summarize group discussion and Retell lecture in a way that make your notes useful and not useless. See you in a minute. So the first thing you need to realize that this is not the same as regular note taking. In a real lecture or in a talk or at a meeting, you really need to understand the message, identify main ideas, connect supporting details, preserve the meaning accurately, especially if you're taking notes at a meeting, and you need to be able to use the notes later on, especially if you're studying, say, biology or business, right? PTE academic note taking is quite different. First of all, we take notes for just two question types. It's retail lecture and summarize group discussion. And your intention in this situation is to collect usable content, right? Usable content is what's key here. You need to capture words and short phrases really quickly, and you need to keep your notes readable under pressure. That means if you're writing really fast and your handwriting becomes more ugly, it's not going to be useful. The next big difference is that you use these notes immediately. As soon as the talk is over, you have the 10 seconds to look over the notes and then produce a talk and speak about it, right? Unlike a real lecture where you need to use your notes later, right? The next thing you need to realize is the notes that you write need to help you create a fluent spoken response, right? So the main thing you need to remember is that in PTE, your notes do not need to recreate the lecture. They just need to help you speak. Okay? So the other thing you need to remember is that your notes are not being scored. Your notes are completely private and they're on that really ugly laminated sheet and you're going to write with a marker. It is not submitted, it's not assessed, and it only needs to work for you, which means you need to find a little bit of a language for yourself that works. Your spoken response is the only part that is assessed, right? It should contain verbatim, like actual words from the audio. It needs to be fluent, and you need to pronounce your words quite clearly. Because how are you marked? Content, fluency, and pronunciation. For both retail lecture and summarize group discussion, content is much stronger. So it's 655, 6 for content, 5 for fluency, 5 for pronunciation. If that's the case, we need a lot of content. So the main thing you need to remember, and it takes practice because it's completely different from what you've been studying in school all this while, which is if you take notes in school, it needs to be really, really good notes and it needs to deliver the main ideas. For PTE, do not sacrifice your spoken response to create perfect notes that you're going to keep later on and then you can share with your friends. It's not the same. We're not going to do any of that. The main thing is to write a little bit less and capture a little bit more. You're not going to try and write whole sentences. You can only capture the words and write the words that you know you can use. Okay? So, for example, here I'm going to read out what the audio says and what seems to be too much and then what might be useful. Okay? So, this is what the audio will say sometimes. The rapid development of technology has transformed the way people communicate and access information. What would produce something which is too hard to read would be if you tried to write down rapid development of technology has transformed the way people communicate and access information. We know for a fact if you've tried to write all of that down, it's probably going to be way too ugly and messy for you to read back in that 10 seconds when you're meant to prepare. What might be useful? Technology development, tech dev. Changed communication. You can even write changed comms. Access info, not access information. Or you can even just write words like technology, communication, information, change. The more words you write down, which aren't filler words like the, and, is, all of that saves you time and allows you to write bigger, more important words, right? We also want you to start writing phrases or chunks. So, for example, over here you can see we've written tech development and changed communication. right? So what you're listening for is anything but filler words. The first step is to capture content words, nouns, verbs, adjectives, names, numbers. All of that's totally great. You don't need to catch is, the, and, of, but. None of that. It's not important. You also can try and listen to short chunks, right? 1 to 3 words and not sentences. If you really feel that you naturally keep writing in those filler words, try to write down really short chunks. The next thing you need to know, and it is really important, is to learn how to move on. If, let's say, you're in the middle of writing a really long word, stop writing that really long word and just start writing whatever you hear at that second. Okay? And especially for words that you know you cannot spell and you know that you didn't understand. Because one expensive word can cost you the next five. Okay? Nobody's going to look at your writing, so why are you trying to spell it correctly? You don't have to do that. And you don't have to be neat. But let's go on and talk a little bit about what we can do. Okay? The next thing is you need to know when to let it go. You've heard it and you want to give up. But it's time to realize that some words and some phrases can just be abandoned. Just drop it. Don't even try to write it. Right? So, what do we abandon while the audio is still playing? Right? Remember, if one word is costing you the next five, you need to leave it. Just leave that word behind. If you can't spell it quickly, don't waste time trying to finish a difficult word. You can write some or part of it. Next, if you can't say it back confidently and you know when you're speaking in your 40 seconds that you can't repeat that word confidently, if you can't pronounce it, let it go, don't write it. If it's taking too long for you to write it down, drop it. If you realize that you are writing and the audio keeps playing and you're already falling behind, stop fighting for that missed word. Just rejoin the audio. Just start writing immediately below that, right? The other thing is using space. Know when you need to use space on your page. The other thing is, so then you go, okay, Rena told me to start using abbreviations, create my own language, and somehow you've used an abbreviation that you can't recognize at all. If you can't recognize it, if you can't read it, it is useless. We need to learn how to move on and catch usable words that you can write. So the main method is to hear, capture, move on, speak. Hear, catch it, move on if at whatever point you're in, and then speak. We need to stay in control of your writing when there is pressure because the speech will continue. It's not like you're in a lecture where the lecturer pauses and checks to see if the crowd is listening. No, the audio is just going to keep playing. Especially for Summarise group discussion, they're going to jump from speaker one to speaker three to speaker two and back and forth all the time. Your goal is to capture as much usable content as possible without losing the flow of the audio. Step one, you're going to listen. Listen for any usable content, right? We need to focus on what we can successfully write down. What do we catch? Short phrases and easy to write words. And I don't mean the, is, and, of, but. I mean actual words that you can write. Go ahead and use abbreviations like development can be dev, a communication can be com, right? Information can be info. As soon as you've written, you need to return to the audio immediately. Do not try to repair, rewrite, or even reread what you've written. You've got the 10 seconds after the audio has stopped. We make no changes to our written work when the audio is playing. When the speaking time comes after your 10 seconds, you are going to use your notes as a prompt. Remember, it's a word soup. What the human assessor is looking for is actual content from the transcript. Okay? You're not supposed to be using it as a full script. Okay? So now let's look at what we can do and with the example here. The government should invest more in renewable energy sources such as solar and wind power. Stop trying to write the full sentence. Stop trying to write words that are too hard if it takes too long and you start falling behind. What you do need to do is GovInvest, renewable energy, solar, wind. These words are short and easy to write. They're quick to capture, and you keep up with the audio, and then you retain more content overall in the end. The main thing is that you stay with the audio, you keep moving, and capture more. Right? So now let's talk a little bit about the method, but for summarized group discussion versus Retell lecture. Right? We don't change the whole method, we just adjust for what we're listening to. Right? So in Retell lecture, the main priority is to capture as many words and phrases as possible. And for summarized group discussion, your priority is to capture some amount of content from every speaker. Okay? In Retell lecture, we have one speaker, whereas in summarized group discussion, we have three speakers. In Retell lecture, it is one continuous flow of content, all in order, non-stop. Whereas in summarized group discussion, the changing voices, jumping from speaker to speaker, speaker one, two, and three, is what you need to listen for. You need to follow the lecture in Retell lecture from the start to the finish, which remember, it is never going to be more than 90 seconds long. Whereas in summarized group discussion, you need to listen for words and phrases you can successfully jot down no matter what the order is. Okay? If you miss a word or a phrase, you just start writing the next usable word. And that's really important. If you can capture large chunks from each speaker in summarized group discussion, that's great. But if you can't, don't worry about it. Take it easy and really learn to breathe while you write and slow it down a little bit. You don't have to write as much as you think you do. Obviously, I like to write a lot of content so that my brain just goes on autopilot and I just say what I have written. Okay? Remember, you need to hear, capture, learn to move on, and then speak in under 10 seconds. Okay? The method stays the same, but the listening challenge changes just a little bit. Okay? So now I think we can move on to a couple of demonstrations. I will do a quick demo for how I would write notes. So I'm not going to go straight into the speaking. I won't bother doing that. I just want to show you the legibility and the readability of the notes. Okay? All right. See you in a second. Here we are on our Ape Uni platform. Let's go straight to a Retell lecture question. And remember, I probably won't do the full speaking, or maybe I'll just do one full speaking example for you to see. As soon as I start writing, I'm going to press record on the phone so that you can see what I've written. Let's go to a question that I have never done. Here we are. Rosalind Franklin. Okay, I'm going to press record.
Rosalind Franklin is a remarkable scientist whose contributions were crucial to understanding the structure of DNA. Her story is a powerful reminder of the impact of perseverance and dedication in scientific discovery. Rosalind Franklin's expertise in X-ray crystallography led to the famous Photo 51, a critical piece of evidence in determining the double helix structure of DNA. Her meticulous and precise approach provided key insights that were essential for this groundbreaking discovery. Yet, her contributions were initially overshadowed and only gained recognition posthumously. Franklin's work extends beyond DNA. She made significant contributions to understanding the molecular structures of viruses and coal, showcasing her versatility and expertise in multiple fields of study. In conclusion, Rosalind Franklin's legacy is not just in her scientific achievements, but also in her resilience in a male-dominated field. Her story inspires future generations of scientists, especially women, to pursue their passions in the face of challenges.
Okay, so you can see exactly what I've written. You can see that a lot of the words are really short. There's no connection. The timer is running. I'm literally going to put the words together. Rosalind Franklin was a remarkable scientist who made great discoveries in DNA. She had a powerful impact on the discovery of the expertise in X-rays, crystallography. 51 determined double helixes. She also made essential contributions, but was overshadowed greatly by other men. She was only recognized posthumously. She made contributions to molecular scientists and molecular structures in multiple fields. Her legacy shows one of resilience in a male dominated field, and she inspires women who are passionate. The end. So you heard me say the end at the end, which I should not have said, and you've seen the exact words that I wrote. It's really short, lots of phrases, but enough content to give us a pretty high score. Let's find out how we did. Okay, as you can see here, content 5 out of 5, pronunciation 84 out of 90, and fluency 82 out of 90, because at the end I said the end, which I really should not have said. It would have been slightly higher.
Word soup together.
Okay, so there you have it, folks. Very little written. You saw exactly what was written and how I put it all together as word soup. I did not spend too much time trying to get as many words as possible. I just wrote down the big words that I caught. What I didn't catch, I moved on. There you have it, folks. I showed you exactly how to write and what words I used. Really short notes, easy for me to read. That's what I need you to guys to remember, that you don't have to catch short words. You're going to catch phrases. Leave all the filler words behind. And when you get stuck, move on. Just move on to wherever the audio is and write those words down. I hope that has been helpful, Ramani, and I will see you sometime soon. Monday is the next video. Thanks so much, everyone. Bye.